Okay.
All right, so let's put our hands together again so that it's like she came fresh. Woo!
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here with us. I think most of the faces here are quite familiar, people that I've worked with on several occasions. Nice to meet you. I haven't met you. But I mean, Red Bullers in the house, I guess. So, yeah. Today, we're just going to be having a chit chat to talk about an industry that we've invested most of our career in, that we're consistently building. And to then, help the audience understand some of the struggles that we have, prefer some solutions, of course, as we continue to discuss, and also hear back from the audience in any kind of way that they're able to support us. I think it'll be important to also hear a little bit from you guys, just tell us, what you've done. We've heard your profiles, of course, and I have no idea why mine was that long, but I mean. It would be nice to hear, especially from you, Adebayo. I mean, running 1080. Somebody made a statement earlier saying that we're in a fragmented industry. And I think it's important to also correct that notion where someone said Nigeria is not a gaming country. We are indeed very big on gaming. We're not adopting gaming. We may be adopting competitive gaming, as esports in itself is, but I'm sure many of us here had older brothers who used to go to the mules to go and play on the PlayStations, right there in the backyard. I know my brothers used to get into trouble just doing that, right? So I thought that was important for me to put that out there, especially for investors in the room, people who are looking to, collaborate with us as an industry. We are indeed a gaming country. So yes, Adebayo, please give us a little bit of insight.
Okay, thank you very much. As she said, my name is Adebayo Onigbanjo, and we currently have a company called 10N80. So just for a lot of people, it's 10 nautical, 8 eastern, which is really Nigeria's location on the longitude and latitude. So that's effectively taking Nigeria's gaming to the world. We're a tournament organizing company, so traditional esports. We organize esports tournaments, both online and offline. We obviously do production because we broadcast all of our talent and tournaments on streaming platforms. And then we have a third leg of it, which is really the talent development, right? So when you think about the people that play the games, they're actually sports athletes. And so if you have athletes, you need to develop them, nurture them, and then allow them grow and go out of the country. One of the things I like to say is that very soon we're going to see a Burna Boy of esports coming out of Nigeria. So, and that's what we are focused on. So.
Thank you so much, Adebayo. I mean, you truly do great work. I stalk you on Instagram, by the way.
Thank you very much. I do the same. So.
Awesome. Chris, I have a question for you. I mean, when Bukola had a conversation with me about you, she had said to me, oh my God, he was a former pro player and he currently works at Red Bull now. I thought it would be nice to hear from you. I know there are so many gamers in the room today who are hopeful that they would make a professional career out of this. How would you propose that a Nigerian professional player or, an African esports player who's trying really hard to become relevant in this sports, how did that work out for you and how do you think that would translate for someone in my own community?
How things happened for me, I was playing a lot of FIFA, I was grinding the ladder, and one day, I met someone who was in charge of the league. It was before. It was in 2012, 13. He was in charge of a league of professional player, but only in FIFA. In France, it's not so big, the esports scene. And he organized a tournament, and that's how I got detected, You want me to go deeper on the routine of a pro player, maybe, to make sure that everybody know what is it? To be a pro player of FIFA, only for competing, you have to play maybe 5 or 6 years, 5 or 6 hours per day, learning the tactics. The game is always evolving, so you have to know every new tricks, every meta, and after that, you are going to play against everybody. And this is really difficult because at my time, be an esports player means nothing because nobody know what is it really. I'm gonna take my second hat at Red Bull because now I'm in charge of the esports and gaming. At Red Bull, all the player and the pro player we are sponsoring, they are considering as athletes because they have the same preparation of a footballer, They have to know the game. They have to be in a good mental health situation. They have to do sports. They have to sleep well. They have to eat well. They have to have the best equipment possible to compete. Connection is something really important, especially in Africa. And when you have all this, you have to find sponsors. You have to convince everyone. You have to be at the top level, even when you are not playing, because you're becoming a brand, and you are representing your profession, your career, and everything. And you have to pay attention the way you talk to anybody, because you can get in trouble. Just maybe you lose a match, you are not in a good mood, in a good shape, and you are angry, and you are not answering to somebody who tries to talk to you. You have to be at the top at every time, and you have to know that the career of an esports player could be small. So you have to be aware that this is an ecosystem. You have to compete, you have to survive, and you have to find sponsors and everything.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Okay, Dom. I've given you a bit of time to relax. So it's my turn with you. I mean, looking at all your work at Carry First, and I must say to you, you guys are really doing so much across the continent, and all this exposure that we all enjoyed today has been a collective effort of several businesses doing their best to, shine light on what we do. But my question to you today is, just listening to Chris and talking about our players must remain at their best, how they must do this and do that, as tournament organizers, do you think that the sort of prize monies that we offer is enough to sustain a player where they focus solely on being esports professionals? Do you think as a continent, as a country, we, the stakeholders or the guys who are driving this sort of, industry, are we creating an enabling environment enough for a professional player to actually live off being a professional player?
First, it's a very interesting question, and it almost puts me in a position where I have to fight my own because, we organize, but it's also very timely and important. So this is what I think. I firmly believe that the systems that are currently set up the way they are, please quote me in context, the exact way they are right now, aren't yet enough to give these players what they need to sustain themselves consistently, which is why you see a lot of these players two-time, right? So they maybe play professionally, but they also have a job, or they are students. And bear in mind, this isn't new. For context, we're all watching the FIFA Club World Cup, and the players from, I think, Auckland FC or something, some of them are sales managers at home, and so it's not like native to gaming specifically. In all forms of sports, it exists. However, I think there are some key levers that exist, and there's growth that we are intentionally now putting in that is creating that enabling environment. For example, a lot of like companies are coming around and are being bold and are working together with great brands to put down like amazing prizes for tournaments. You see what's happening with like 10 and 80 and the Deca Cup and the NPL. Same thing at the huge prize pool at Gamr, which is ridiculous to think of. I think the Carifest Africa Cup as well, right? It's a huge amount of money to say, $15,000 is on the line, and that's really good money for these teams. But from the last year or two, where we've actively done more like high-end tournaments, there's something we've realized, and it's that it's one thing to earn money, and earn in the sense that money comes into your account, but it's another thing to be in a system that almost curates your efficient use of that money. What that means is a team can go today, play really well, they make some money, land $5,000, $10,000, but what happens afterwards, right? And if we're going to build that system where going forward, more teams are sustained and players are able to stay consistently and contribute and participate, we have to think of it or juxtapose it directly to what you would see with the Premier League, for example, or other teams or from other games. And it's the sense that there is some sort of financial accountability as well on their side on how money is spent or money is used. And now you're making sure that teams are accountable to players, players are accountable to teams. And that sort of infrastructure sort of ensures great financial runway as well for these teams. And now you're not hearing cases of maybe a team coming in and not playing again. So all in all, to wrap it up, what I'm saying is this: we have amazing promise in what we've built so far. And sure as the sun rises, we are building something that's going to end up sustaining these players, and it's getting there. There just needs to be like a greater consensus around the people who organize these things to now come together and ensure that efficiency is put into place as we keep running tournaments and we keep building organizations that sit within that cadence of esports and gaming.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dom. Thank you. My next question is to you, Adebayo. We know the struggles, right, of putting together these tournaments, and sometimes tournament organizers go to bed in tears. Because after doing all of this fantastic work, you put together this very amazing event, everybody claps and they go home, and then you're left in debt, and then you're looking at your books, and it doesn't just make sense. It's not adding up. What would you say is another sustainable or viable option beyond sponsorships to tournament organizers? And the reason I ask is this: we're encouraging, universities to have their own esports clubs, esports teams. We're asking young boys to host tournaments in their own, in their own neighborhoods, just to empower themselves in that sense. Do you think Nigeria is where we are for ticketing, merchandise sales? In a market where all of these things don't happen, what do you think is possible? What's the way out of all of this?
So yes, we do go to bed after the event crying. But look, I think Nigeria is not there yet from a ticketing perspective. And I'll give context. Some of us that are older, we watched Nigerian Soccer League, right? I schooled in the University of Ilorin, and we would go watch Kwara Bombers. It was a thing to do. And there was maybe $10 or whatever, but we went, and the stadium was always full. There were students. That was a product. The product was good, and we were willing to pay $10, right? I don't think we have enough people today in Nigeria that appreciate esports as a tournament or as an experience that would put their money in their hands. Like, as tournament organizers, our events are free. We even at some point collaborate with schools and say, bring your students. So I think it's not there. I think, look, the way I see it is those of us that are here where, like I think it was Susukuna that said it earlier, some of us have to make this sacrifice, right? And that's the way I see it, right? We're ahead of the game. We've decided that, look, we're passionate about this thing. We will do it at an expensive cost to us, but it's one way to do it. Now, the other side that I would acknowledge is Look, I think the awareness is there. We've been doing this now for 5 years, and I think every year we see an increase in engagement, excitement. In merchandise sales, I think one of the things that excites me, we start seeing teams that play our tournaments actually going out to make their own merchandise. Now they're seeing themselves as athletes, right? Where if I can convince people that I'm good and they know me, can I sell my jersey, even if it's whatever price, right? And so I think that is coming. I think brands as well are now being more receptive to the idea of, oh, this is esports, this is a tournament. So they're even participating. We have partners that they don't give us money, but they bring their products, which for us, I don't care. Bring your product, at least the people that are coming in there go back home with an experience like, oh, I was able to get this item. So the next time something like that happens, they know that, okay, I can get something else, right? So, look, like I said, I think it's early days. We just have to keep pushing and, hold hands and hopefully, make forward.
Okay, so Adebayo says we have to sing the Kumbaya song together. So, so I guess we'll have to have like an esports companies Monday meeting kind of stuff where we all sing the gaming song. But thank you so much, Adebayo. I mean, those are actual real struggles that we all go through every day. Coming to you, Chris, you work with one of the biggest brands in esports today, globally, if I'm to say. I mean, I do say so. How would you propose, like, just coming off what Adebayo said, where people have not exactly bought into the experience of esports in itself. It's a passion point, yes? Brands want to meet their people at their passion point. It is indeed a passion point. So many guys who are working in the space are branding it in a way that it's actually a very nice experience to be a part of. But I think the part that we haven't exactly unlocked as a country is the community building part, How do our communities begin to count beyond Discord numbers and Instagram likes? How do we create a product that somebody truly wants to be a part of? How have you unlocked that in your market?
I think, first, I have to say something. To build esport tournaments and make the ecosystem viable, for me, the publisher have a most important role in the economy, because to make sure that the game is attractive and that we are able to build tournament and event around the game, we have to count on the publisher. For me, it's the most important things, because if he is not giving value to the tournament or the circuit, the professional circuit, if he's not investing money, we have to find another solution. And for me, maybe I don't have the special formula, but for me, make the esport attractive to people that are not passionate about, we have to bring an experience. We're gonna talk about Red Bull. The world of Red Bull is really, really large, and as soon as they do something, they bring dance, culture, they bring sports, skaters, boarders, and everything, They try to make sure that the consumers or the people that are going to come to see an esport event, they're gonna live an experience. They can also bring artists to make concert, show. We have to make sure that every people that are coming to the event gonna spend a good time, And this is really important, especially in Nigeria or in the African market. We have to think and find a way to make our event attractive to anybody that will come for see the show.
Sorry? Yes, please, by all means.
So I definitely want to contribute to this like economic viability question, especially on esports, and it's from two sides. The first is the one you mentioned with the publisher, right? I think as organizers, we need to pat ourselves on the back for how much benefit we are accruing for publishers, right? Because think of it like this, for example. No one benefits more from the scale and participation of people on the ground on a game than the person who owns and makes that game, right? Not even you, the organizer. So if publishers tend to benefit from every single thing we do, whether it's the small university activation that happens at a school or it's the big tournament, then it makes sense to like ensure that participation with publishers is happening in whatever we do as well, owners of these games. Which is why, like on Carry First side, for example, with the Africa Cup, one of the first things we needed to do starting out is like Call of Duty Mobile has to be involved, or with the latest addition, like Moonton has to be involved with the Mobile Legends Bang Bang tournament as well. And there is logic to that, and there's participation from them because they see the clear incentive, and now they are willing to like put support behind it, which then helps on the economic viability side. But on the second one, which is with the players themselves, what I might say might be controversial, right? So please bear with me.
Controversy, please.
Bear with me. But I'm saying this because, for example, we run the Carry First shop, right? And it's this shop where gamers are able to buy content on their games. So I'm going to be very honest. We see these same gamers spend money. On the shop. That is the truth. Gamers spend money, right? The same gamers like buy drinks, buy confectionery, buy gear to make their game better. They spend a ton of money on all these things. Some people here will tell you how much they spend on like points and stuff. Like, you know there's money. These guys have money to spend at least. So I don't know if it's a purchasing power problem or it is a, like Sabayo said, passion thing. And then the question then becomes, how do you generate so much passion in the minds of gamers that gamers are then willing to pay you to be at gaming events? For me, right, my personal answer and what I'm betting on for the next 3 years is storytelling. That's what I'm betting on. The idea is there is no inherent value in 22 men kicking a ball around for 90 minutes. Absolutely none. But it suddenly becomes important when Chelsea wins the Conference League because now we are the team that has won everything. Or it becomes laughable when Arsenal does what Arsenal does. But I have to do that. But the point is, the only reason all of that is viable and people are spending money to buy tickets is because they care. There's a story behind that. And I think there needs to be an investment in generating more stories that drive people to care. Content is the word, right? Because I can be a good player and I'm able to snipe and do all these things on Call of Duty or PUBG, and good for you, hands down, clap. But if people don't back you and people don't care about you as a player and they're like, that guy is undefeated, there's nobody that can beat him, and now there's this new team that is coming up, so I have to see that guy play that team, I'm not going to spend money. So personally for me, I think the same efforts we put into building tournaments, which are good and very important and we need that foundation, we need to step back and ask ourselves, how do we tell the best stories with the lives of these players and their journey? Because when we do that, that money that these gamers have and we know they have will come out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're absolutely true. I think we can take a look at what they are doing in Asia, especially on League of Legends. You know, every year they are building a show, the world of League of Legends, which is amazing, you know. And the most important part of the show is the storytelling. They are building around the teams. They give glory to the players that are qualifying and playing and struggling to make it to the World Finals. And when you see the guy in the street, like, he's a normal guy, you know, but when you see what Riot produce, the content that Riot has produced, you see the guy with aura, with passion, you know. Sometimes they make sure that the player is represented as a hero of his country, you know. And this is really important, as you said, the storytelling, and I'm sure this is a very, very important thing for esports.
I mean, thank you so much, guys. You actually raised a very, very important point. Storytelling is probably one of the things that we've been lacking as an industry because there's so many great things that I witnessed today, so many young people building fantastic games that I didn't even know existed, you know, just walking through the maze over there and seeing different people doing different things. And you're wondering, who's telling these stories? Yeah. I was talking about a young lady the other time. I think she's somewhere in the room. She used to be, I mean, she's still a student marketer with Red Bull. And the only reason she's sitting in a classroom today learning to build games is because she's interacted with gaming events through Red Bull. And I think that that's the sort of story that one needs to tell. And that's a female in a very, very male-packed room, you know, and that's to tell you how that has influenced the life decisions that she's making. I think that those are truly the kind of stories that ought to be told, that we're not doing the best job at telling. So yes, both of you are right. And I think that's something that all of us here have to take back home, you know, and say to ourselves that how do we improve this? How do we make it better? Yes, so I agree definitely on that point. I wanted to ask you a question, Adebayo. I mean, it would be nice to know when we're supposed to round up because I could keep going and going. You know, Nigeria just eventually, you know, put together a federation, right? And the general question has always been, what are the different roles? How does the role of the federation not clash with that of stakeholders who are doing things in their own space? What's the role of the private sector? What's the role of the federation? As someone who is actively working at building a business within this same ecosystem, what's your take on that?
So, I mean, look, I think of esports and what we do like every other traditional sports. And so when you think about, again, football, there is a football federation, right? And there are leagues that are owned by individuals or states, but they participate in the league structure. So I think on a high level, that's kind of the differences. So the federation regulates and federates whatever that industry or sector is supposed to do. But I think, you know, earlier someone pointed it out, like, what do we want the most? I think it was Teddy. If government was getting involved, it's the visibility, right? It's the effort that, whether it's the players, whether it's the organizers, whether it's the brands that are putting into developing an ecosystem. How does the government, the federation, because again, the federation is the voice of the government. The government created the federation to say, look, help us nurture this sector. And so how do you get the right visibility? I think Dom pointed something out, and Chris, you said it as well. We want to organize tournaments. We want the publisher to be part of it. They get the most benefit out of it. But again, they look at markets like Nigeria and say, yeah, we're not quite ready. You know, your market is small. Whether it's because most of our gamers are buying their diamonds or UCs through other channels. And so the publisher doesn't see that, oh wait, Nigeria is actually spending this much. And I think that's a role for the federation to say, look, guys, you are publishers, our market has a significant audience for you guys, and we need to figure out a way how you have presence here, whether it's by their servers being here, whether it's by them recognizing the organizers that are doing their game, whether it's by them allowing some of these tournaments to actually be feeders into whether it's regional tournaments or, you know, state tournaments. But I think that's kind of where I see the federation. Like, help look at that sector and say, okay, what does this sector need? You had mentioned something which is very interesting. So we've been going to university campuses to organize game fests. And we do registrations, and we see, like, people literally register. I mean, I think on average, each university we're seeing 400, 500 registrations. But none of these schools have esports teams. They don't have esports on their schedule. They don't have anything. And I think that's another thing, right? Can the federation sit with, you know, the Ministry of Education and say, look, you have to recognize this as a sector. You have to recognize that there are different values to students being electronically inclined, digital, that adds to their development and education. And so maybe when you start that, you now have communities in schools, right? Schools now have teams. It becomes easier for us to start saying, oh, look, this school versus this school, like you try to do with, the federation and national, sports festival. And so I think that's where the federation should put its battle, right? To say, look, how can we help the folks that are working on the ground to make their lives easier, right? And I think, look, for us, there's value wherever like you said, before the federation, we've been trying to figure this thing out on our own. And it's by working with other people, trying to say, okay, we did this, what did you guys do? How did this work? How did this not work? And I think that's kind of the opportunity for the federation.
Thank you very much, Adebayo. I mean, the host has just whispered to me that it's time for us to round up. But I hear you, that the role of the federation is indeed advocacy. It's the job of the federation to advocate, because, in some other countries we're seeing where federations are giving out licenses and things like that, and it's of my own opinion that that's not the role of the federation. And I'm happy that, the thoughts align, and just hearing from stakeholders who say it is indeed advocacy, getting the right partners into the room, having the right conversations, and being at the right tables. So I do agree with you. Thank you very much. I think we can just take one question, if that's possible. One question, if there's anyone who has a question that we were happy to ask.
Hello everyone, my name is Olaide. Some of you may know me as Laddie HD from YouTube and Esports back in the day. I kind of wanted to dispute your message on whether esports was sustainable right now for Nigerian gamers. And I speak from experience because this was back in 2019, right? I was an professional esports player, and one thing I realized that people didn't know that there are multiple ways to make money from being an esports player, and it's not just from attending tournaments and playing in tournaments as well, but there's also the content side as well. Putting yourself out there. YouTube pays, TikTok pays, and making content from your gameplay, something people want to see, people want to watch. And from that, you're not just going for this tournament, playing these games, making content out of it can also bring money in for you. And I remember at the time, this was in 2019, straight out of university, I was making 250,000 naira a month. I know it's not a lot of money now, but back then that was a lot for someone that was, 19 years old and everything. So again, for real, this is something I would definitely like to dispute that there is actually opportunity for a lot of gamers to make money from gaming and being a gamer right here in Nigeria. It's sustainable if you add these other platforms to what you're currently doing. And the other thing I want to touch on, I'm happy you guys actually got to it towards the end, was the I think you called it telling a story, and I really feel that is so important. I feel like that's something that is being missed out a lot. I think there needs to be an end goal for gamers. There needs to be a reason. It's not just playing the game. Okay, why should I put my money into this? Why should I even be interested? I think the solution is celebrity gamers, because that's the reason why every other sport has become a thing. Like if you ask any other person, why do you want to be a footballer? I want to be like Ronaldo, I want to be like Messi. And for me, when I got into gaming and stream, I remember when I was like 14 years old when I started taking gaming and esports seriously. But I was too scared to tell my parents that, hey, I want to do this seriously. And they were like, I'd be like, why? What's there? And onto celebrity gamers like Ninja and the popular streamers and gamers came out, and it was like a thing. I was like, oh, I want to be like this guy. I can be like this. I can do this, and I can get there. I was like, what has this guy achieved? Oh, there was something to show for it. There was the money, there was the lifestyle, there was the fact that you can succeed from doing that. I feel like that's the same thing we need to bring into Nigeria and start making these celebrity gamers, start pushing them out there, getting the media and focus and attention on them, tell their stories like you mentioned. Yeah. And I feel like that will encourage everyone, because you start seeing them on TV, start seeing them everywhere. It's like, oh, I can do this too. There's this person right there I can look up to and be like. So, yeah, thank you very much.
One, thanks for that. Just to offer a bit of context to what you just said, because obviously a lot of people recognize that fundamentally at the end of the day, when you operationalize it, there's a difference between a content creator and a pro player, right? It's a difference between, I don't know, a KSI or a Lionel Messi. One is a content creator, one is a professional player. However, a lot of people who are starting their careers to become pro players don't recognize the value of content creation early, like he said. 10 years ago, right, the pathway to going into the esports industry was joining the physical LAN parties and the meetups. You would get there and you would sweat and you would play and you would beat everybody, like what was happening with you, and you would get recognition. So the likes of like Faker from T1 in League of Legends, that was how he rose up to where he is today. A lot of people who played then or are the big stars now. But, you know, COVID, digitalization has really changed life for us. And those LAN parties have shifted to online content, which is now at a point where the biggest stars are actually being scouted from online streams. So think of this guy, Shotzi from the CDL. He plays for Optic Gaming, right? Probably the biggest prodigy in Call of Duty right now. Shotzi was discovered online. This guy, Hisoka, who plays for Falcons for Warzone, unarguably the best zone player right now in the world. But Hisoka was discovered online. Like, someone saw him streaming, he was ranking on lobbies, and then they got him in. So even if you're a pro player and you know, okay, content creation is not the end goal for me, I don't like it, it's not my thing, you still have to be making content, at least for now. Because the people who are looking for talents are spending a significant amount of their time online looking for those people who can dedicatedly rank high and stream. And there aren't enough, honestly, LAN events to even showcase our talents that you have.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for listening to us. We appreciate today. And thank you to the Lagos Games Week team as well. And to everyone on my panel. Thank you, guys.
All right, can we put our hands together for every